Hello and welcome back to Life's Biggest Questions. I'm Ron Mackenzie Lafergie. We all know the story of Robin Hood. The ballads tell of a bold Robin Hood born and bred in merry Nottinghamshire in Locksley Town, whose father was a forester who was excellent with the bow. Robin grew up, donned his Lincoln green outfit, and took to being an outlaw with deadly accuracy with the bow and arrow, before winning the heart of the fair maid Marion. But was this story pure fiction, or does it have a basis in fact? Let's comb through the evidence and try to come to our own conclusions. If you want more answers, check out our biggest debated topics playlist on the channel. Now get ready, it's time to ask the question, was Robin Hood a real person? Robin Hood has his roots in ballads. For that reason, I will be presenting the rest of this video in ballad form. In Nottingham there lives a jolly tanner with a hey down, down, a down, down. However, it should be noted that the ballads did paint a rather different picture from the fun-loving steal from the rich and give to the poor vagabond we know now. Earlier stories told of a much more generic outlaw, with the giving to the poor aspect of his character showing up centuries later. But was there a Robin Hood who inspired the ballads? Many claim to know the truth behind Robin Hood. The Sloane manuscripts in the British Museum claim that he lived in 1160 in Lockersley, while others claim that he was a man from Wakefield who fought in Thomas of Lancaster's 1322 rebellion. Some believe he was active during the reign of Edward II, while others hold that it was while Richard the Lionheart was king. Still others claim that Robin Hood has no historical basis and is simply a character of myth. Some believe that his green clothes were meant to represent the spring, which was a common aspect of the ballads, or that they were even meant to refer to the fairies. And others think he could be a medieval version of the classic trickster of lore. These folks associate him with characters such as Robin Goodfellow, otherwise known as Puck. With so many conflicting theories, it's clear that many, if not all of them, are wrong. So how can we get to the truth of the matter? Well, there are a number of records that have been studied and used to speculate as to the identity of the real Robin Hood, if he did exist. One way of searching for this man is to look at records of various outlaws from past centuries. However, one problem with this is that the name Robert, which would be shortened to Robin, was a very common name at the time, and Hood was rather common as well, since it could refer to those who make or wear hoods. That said, we can look at the stories of the men in question and the circumstances around them to determine if they're likely to have inspired the tale or indeed been inspired by it. The earliest narrative ballads about Robin Hood that have been recovered date to the late 15th and early 16th centuries. This would lead one to believe that his exploits took place in and around those times. However, there are some earlier references to the man, with a poem by Piers Plowman, believed to have been written in the 1370s, referencing the rhymes of Robin Hood. So it seems it was around long before the ballads that we know about. As it happens, a number of outlaws in the 13th and 14th century took the names of Robin Hood and Little John, drawing inspiration from the legendary outlaws. There are even reports of a real inspiration for Friar Tuck, who was believed to be Robert Stafford of Sussex, who was said to have been active in the early 1400s. However, no clear evidence points to where or even when a real Robin Hood existed. There are reports of men going by a name similar to Robin Hood dating all the way back to the mid-1200s. One particularly famous record was of an outlaw named William, son of Robert Lefevre, who was wanted for larceny and the harboring of thieves. Sounds an awful lot like a certain someone, and the plot thickens as a later report referred to him as William Robehud. Put the name and his crimes together and throw in some archery skills and we have what could be the basis for the Robin Hood of legend. This William Robehud is one of the closest things historians have to a real-life Robin Hood, but it is believed by many that this Robehud was still based on the legend, rather than the legend coming from him. This is because the changing of his name to Robehud could indicate that the clerk who changed it was himself making a reference to Robin Hood. This would imply that William Robehud was not the original Robin Hood, but merely one of the many outlaws associated with the legendary name. It should be noted, however, that some historians believe that the change could simply be an error in writing the patronymic, and that the clerk simply miswrote William Robert. If this was the case, it could mean that this William, son of Robert, did indeed inspire the many tales of this merry outlaw, with the mistranslated Robhood eventually being turned into the name Robin Hood. However, there are several other cases of similar names from that time period, with some possibly occurring before this. It seems Robin Hood was commonly used by record keepers as a name for outlaws. For this reason, it does seem likely that the legend was relatively well known before 1268. Unfortunately, it simply isn't possible to determine for certain whether or not Robin Hood did truly exist, due in part to how long ago the events transpired, as well as the inconsistent reporting of the various ballads and tales. It's difficult to determine when, where, or even if a real Robin Hood existed. That said, I don't know about you, but this is something I'll be keeping an eye on moving forward. Maybe in years to come, we'll learn more about this legendary character's origins. Thank you for watching Life's Biggest Questions. I hope this was interesting and informative, and maybe even inspired you to look into it further on your own. If you like this video, please thumbs up and subscribe to the channel down below. While you're down there, let me know what other people of legend you'd like us to talk about, like William Wallace or the Pied Piper. Until next time, I'm Ron Mackenzie Lafergie with Life's Biggest Questions, wishing you the best of luck on your quest for answers.